Introducing Rabbi Dovid Gottlieb, Hope in Destruction.
Tishah is the yortzeit of my father, Moshe Avraham ben Shmuel, alav shalom. The shir is the Ili Nishmaso. Two millennia of weeping. It's hard for the heart to keep hoping. Even when the head recites the Ikorei HaEmunah, it's hard for the heart to keep hoping. Sfarim described despair as the worst spiritual enemy. Despair robs us of energy, hope, direction, growth, focus. It's hard not to give way to despair. There's a theme in Sfarim. The pasuk says, "Sheva yipol tzadik v'kam." The tzaddik falls 7 times, he gets up. And Sfarim talk about Yerida l'tzorech aliyah, a descent for the sake of an ascent. We have to understand that Sheva yipol tzadik v'kam and Yerida l'tzorech aliyah are how HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs His world. This is a theme that's placed into the world. Fallings, failings are part of the very foundation of the world. And we have to understand that they are an opportunity. They're not a rejection, they're an invitation. They're an acceptance. An investment. Sheva yipol tzadik v'kam. The Mefarshim explained that we're talking about 2 types of fallings. One is in Gashmias. The tzaddik will suffer. The lists of sufferings and problems that people face is normal for a tzaddik. Kam means HaKadosh Baruch Hu picks him up. He doesn't get up on his own. He doesn't climb out of it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu picks him up. That means if his eyes are open, he sees the hashgacha. And the Mefarshim connected to tzaddik be'emunoso yichya, a tzaddik lives through his amunah. If he experiences the down and the up as hashgacha, both the down and the up as hashgacha, then it will strengthen his emunah, not weaken it. Rav Mendel Weinbach, Zechron Livracha, I lost a child, 14-year-old son, and I went to be Menachem Oval. Quoted the famous pasuk from Eov, Hashem nosan, Hashem lokach, Yishem Hashem aborach. Hashem gave, Hashem took. And he said to me, you have to get to the point where the lekicha is in the sina, where the taking away is a giving. That was a man sitting shiva for his son. But that's an ikar emunah. That the taking away is a giving. The falling is an opportunity to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hashgacha in the falling and in the getting up. And the Forshim also take Sheva Yipol Tzadik V'Kam as Nefila Ruchnis, failing, Averis, transgressions, and doing tshuva, and raising the whole world with his tshuva. Sheva Yipol Tzadik, say the Mefarshim, Sheva is lavdafka. Sheva just means many, many times. It could be 17 times, and 77 times. And he falls, and he falls, and he falls, and he gets up. Even on the same element. Chanun Hamar B'Lisloach, says the Balatanya, means HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgives over and over again on the same Avera. The same Avera over and over again when a person gets up. Well, why is it tzaddik? What makes him a tzaddik if he's falling over and over again in the same Avera? Many of you know the mashal that they used to say, the Baalei Mussar used to say, if you have a fish in your hand and you want to know whether it's alive or dead, throw it into a moving stream. If it goes upstream, it's alive. It's swimming upstream. If it goes downstream, it's probably floating with the stream and it's dead. We could add also a third possibility. Suppose you throw the fish into the stream and it goes neither up nor down. Is it alive or dead? It's got to be alive. Because if it were dead, it would be floating downstream with the current. It means that fish is still swimming, pushing against the tide. All right, in its performance, it's not going upstream, but it's alive. See, the Shalom says this. You come to Yom Kippur over and over again, year after year. And year after year, you're fighting the same battles. And it's easy to give in to despair. I clapped al chait for this last year, and I'm still doing it. It says in Siva Shalom, a person who's still clapping al chait and still being mitzta'er, has pain from his failures, is alive. He's spiritually alive. Because he hasn't given up. He's still fighting. That's a level of tzidkis. The tzaddik, the pasuk says, falls 7 times. He's falling over and over again. That doesn't deprive him of the title tzaddik. How does he fight? Tzaddik be'emunaso yichya. A tzaddik lives with his emunah. In this case, it's emunah in himself. I still count. I'm still worth something. My life is accomplishing something. With all the failures and all the fallings, my life still is counting. And why does my life count? Why do I believe in myself? Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu believes in me. He believes in me. He's giving me life every moment. He's giving me all my koiches to be able to function every moment. He's investing in me. If he's investing me, then I must be worth it. As the Bitui says, I know I'm somebody because God don't make junk. And if he's investing in me, then I'm worth it. And if I'm worth it, then my efforts count. My efforts are meaningful. And if I believe in myself because he believes in me, and I don't count myself out, and I do tshuva over and over again, then I qualify for at least that minimum adrega of tzaddik. And then, Sheva Yipol Tzadik V'Kam in the Gashmiya sense. Kadosh Baruch Hu will pick us up when the Gashmiya challenges as well. Yerida L'Tzorech Aliyah is a theme in the entire Bria. The Zohar says, Leis Nahura Ela B'Go Chashucha, all light comes from darkness. In Bereishis, V'choshech al Pnei Sahom is before Vayehi Or. The world started in darkness, and light came afterwards, into the darkness, inserted into the darkness. Golus Mitzrayim, which was a Ruchnistika Golus, which led to a Gashmistika Golus, 90 years of bitter slavery. was the necessary precondition for Ma'amad HaSinai, for Kabbalah Satorah. Light comes from darkness. In Gan Eden, with all of the transparency of Hashgacha, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence in front of them, still, as the Mesilas Yesharim says, the soul coming into this world is like a princess who's been abandoned to marry a coarse farmer. And he asks, what will the farmer give to please the princess? Food? She who came from the finest international chefs in the palace? Music with his rustic guitar when she's used to symphonies? What can the farmer do to please the princess who's exiled from the palace? Nothing. And that's why Pirkei Avos says that the Neshama doesn't want to come into this world. Abandon dveikus with the Borei to go into that darkness. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants a partner in Ma'aseh Bereishis, and a partner has to be standing independently. And to stand independently, you cannot see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in front of you. The Malachim have no free will because they see too much. They see HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence too clearly. They can't function independently. The darkness is for the sake of our greatness of becoming partners. Shutafim b'Ma'aseh Bereishis. The world is based on descending into darkness in order to achieve. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, when I send you into the darkness, I want you to know that I'm there with you also. When Yaakov Avinu was on his way down to Mitzrayim to join Yosef, and he comes to Beersheba, and he offers korbanos to Hashem, the God of Yitzchak, his father, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Yitzchak not to go to Mitzrayim when there was a famine. And so Yaakov thinks, is what I'm doing right? Maybe I should follow the precedent of my father and not my grandfather, and not go to Mitzrayim. So he offers korbanos to Kadosh Baruch Hu, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu says to him, Al tira meir da Mitzrayim, don't be afraid to go down to Egypt. Yes, I told your father not to go, I'm telling you yes to go. And then he says the words, Anochi ered imcha Mitzrayim, I will too go down with you to Mitzrayim. Gam anuchi alecha gam alo, and I will take you back up. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends us into the darkness, He doesn't send us alone. Imo anochi b'tzara. I'm with you in the pain. This is the greatest possible investment when we end up in a tzara, and when we end up in a tzara through our own failures. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I don't abandon you. I don't abandon you. You know that the Kruvim on the Aron, their posture depicted the way in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu was relating to Klal Yisrael. Sometimes they were face to face, sometimes they were back to back. If you looked into the Kodesh Kodashim, you could see how HaKadosh Baruch Hu was relating to Klal Yisrael at that time. And when the Bavlim came in to destroy the Beis HaMikdash and open up the Kodesh Kodashim, and they saw the Kruvim embracing one another, at that time, when the HaKadosh Baruch Hu had decided that the Beis HaMikdash should be destroyed and we should go into Golus. So some explain, it's like a farewell embrace. We're parting. We're going to be apart. But I love you. And I'm waiting for you to come back. And I'll be with you also. I'll be with you also. Not in the same way, not in the same openness, but I'll be with you also. After all, in Golus Bavel, we had Nevi'im. Yechezkel saw Ma'aseh Merkava in Bavel. And we had the Nes of Purim. Kadosh Baruch Hu said, my panim for you are in Yerushalayim, and you've lost that. But I'm still with you. I'm still with you. And in our times, we have the Nes of Harugei Beitar. Beitar was a city with a fantastically large population. And the Romans killed them all. That's Gullus. But they didn't decompose for years. And eventually, we got permission to bury them, and we buried them whole. Whole, fresh. Because Baruch Hu is giving a simon with all the destruction, with all the time, with all the loss, with all the pain. I'm with you. It's not an accident. It's planned. It's the Yerida L'Tzorech Aliyah. The loss of the Beis HaMikdash was both Gashmi and Ruchni. The Shulchan in the Kodesh was the Makor of Parnasa. The Gemara says that Ta'am, various Ta'amim, were taken away from the world because of the loss of the Beis HaMikdash. Gullus even now, Gullus even here. For those who don't live in Eretz Yisrael, the Shefa that comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to sustain the world comes in America through the Tsar of America. And in Russia, it comes through the Tsar of Russia. And a Jew who lives there is getting his influence from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, his energy, his capabilities through that foreign Tsar. And that's a tragedy. But lest we feel, sitting in Eretz Yisrael, in Yerushalayim, content and satisfied, when we recite the Haggadah, Leil HaSeder, and we say, L'shana habo ba'arad Yisrael, next year we should be in the land of Israel, do we silently chuckle and say, that's for them, those who haven't made Aliyah yet, Nefesh B'Nefesh didn't get to them yet, but we're here. No, we are in Gullus. Because we is Klal Yisrael. We is all of Klal Yisrael. How dare we not identify with Yidden in New York and Johannesburg and London? We are in Gullus. And we need to be brought back. Without the Beis HaMikdash, of course we have no karbonos. We have lost the koyach of tefillah. The Beis HaMikdash is called Beis Tefillah in Yeshaya. If you look at Shlomo HaMelech's dedication to the Beis HaMikdash, he has only one activity described there, and that's tefillah. Doesn't mention karbanos at all. The koyach of tefillah is lost. And when we are mispal after every Shemona Esrei for the rebuilding of the Beis HaMikdash, and we say, V'sein chalkeinu b'soirasecha, it means the koyach of Torah is lost also. The Beis HaMikdash was a makor for Ruchnius and Gashmius, and we've lost both of them. And we have to experience this as Tzevi Yipol Tzadik V'Kam. We have to believe in ourselves, because the Kodesh Baruch Hu is investing in us. We have to say that this Yerida is the foundation for an Aliyah. It's the darkness from which the light will come. And we have to trust ourselves that we can play a role in bringing that light. One step forward. A person will say, today, I know that the Kodesh Baruch Hu believes in me. I know that He loves me. Av, Merachim, V'ohev. Rachmana means the one who loves us, not merciful. In Aramaic, Rachmana means the one who loves us. He loves us. He's looking for a gesture. He's looking for a gesture. Even from the tzaddik who falls 7 times in Ruchnius, a gesture. Yes, I can take a step forward. Yes, I see this as a platform. Not only as the small docha, but also as the Yamin Mekarev. Not only the left hand pushing away, but the right hand pulling close. Both happen simultaneously. A raising of the hand to the face can be a slap and it can be a caress. Both. Yiratzon that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us the strength to take a step forward, believing in ourselves because He believes in us. And with that, we can make our contribution to the Guru.